Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Welcome. See how I did 3 welcomes, George? I think you do 2, don't you?
I'm usually a welcome, but yeah, welcome is pretty solid. I like that.
Because I can't be you, so I got to do something. So I did
That's
3
nice.
Welcomes.
Dude, I might steal that.
But what am I welcoming anybody to? Life List, a birding podcast. I am here. I'm Alvaro, and I'm with George Armistead. Molly is not here right now, but she almost was able to make this one, but just could not. And we're just it's a riffing one for us. It's like, let's just go for it. Let's talk about whatever comes to our mind. Usually we have a really structured podcast, as you guys all know.
Super structured. Yeah.
This time it's not. It's crazy. This is insane.
Super structure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's more superstructure than, I don't know, on a big battleship or something. I don't know. what has superstructure?
Yeah, I don't know.
Feathers have structure.
This is true.
Yeah. They have little hooks and stuff, and they all kind of come together.
Barbules. Mm-hmm.
Barbules, yeah. I saw that movie, the Barbule movie.
Forever classic.
Forever classic, yeah. So I want to start with something totally different because I remembered that I'd had this on my desk and I wanted to say something about it. I have a book here.
Oh boy.
That was published really recently. Dragonflies of North America.
Hey now.
Not birds, but dragonflies. Written by Ed Lamb and
Nice.
Illustrated by Ed Lamb. And I got to tell you, the illustrations are incredible. Like, incredible. You cannot believe these things are actually pictures, you know? Princeton field guides.
Paintings, not photos or both.
Yeah, they're illustrations. I assume they're probably done digitally, like a digital illustration.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I've been into dragonflies for a while. I kind of lost touch with them for a bit, but I was an early dragonflyer back in the day.
Early adopter.
Early adopter. I mean, some of these dragonflies probably hadn't even evolved yet when I started. And the one of the issues was that they do have variations. Like the females can look different than the males, and the males can look different as they age. And sometimes some females are yellow toned and you get like a green morph or a blue morph. There's a lot of stuff going on. And it was really difficult to try to learn all these. And in those days, you sort of would have them in the hand and try to look for some of the parts that are, the reproductive parts. But his illustrations are so crisp and so precise that not only can you look at these patterns, but you can look at the different shapes of these animals, like different wing shapes, different body shapes, the shapes of the actual stripes on the side, a nice map, total new information on how you actually field ID these things. And I point it out because there's a lot of books out that come out in nature, but there's sometimes a book that comes out that is revolutionary and just changes the field. And I think you could say that about National Geographic Guide, the original Peterson Guide, Sibley Guides. They all kind of really changed the way things are seen and done. And this book is that way. It's just really, really amazingly wow. And it's Ed Lamb, Dragonflies of North America. And you're saying, well, dang, I'm already a birder. I mean, I don't need to be, I don't want my attention diverted from my birds. But I think you'll agree with me, George. Often dragonflies and butterflies are doing their thing when the birds are at their lowest.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts about them. Yeah, they give you a little reprieve, when something to enjoy when kind of the hot doldrums of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And they fly, and they have colors, and you identify them visually, unlike some of these moths, where you really have to get into some crazy detail. So I really suggest for anybody who is keen on other parts of nature, and also, or maybe you're like, I see the same birds here in my neighborhood all the time. I want other things to entertain my mind and my eyes. Dragonflies of North America is like a fantastic book,
Yeah, I think one of the cool things too about Ed Lamb is that he teaches kids art, and I often if there's and this maybe says something about me more so than anybody else, but sometimes if I'm looking for to learn about a subject that I feel like I really don't even have a basic learning, I'll often see like what kind of kids books there are, because I feel like if you can introduce a subject to a kid that makes it fun and interesting and really gives you a good round perspective on things, then you've got a foundation, and so it's cool. He teaches kids how to illustrate it looks like, and I bet he is a good teacher just by virtue of that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And you start thinking, wow, if we could have some of these other critters, with great books, I guess it's all coming, over time. We get new volumes, but highly recommended,
I felt like a few years ago we kind of went through a lull where there weren't as many good bird books coming out, and it just seems like the last 2-3 years we've been blessed with a lot of great new titles. And of course Princeton produces a lot of them, they did this Dragonfly book by Ed Lamb.
Exactly. I'm actually looking forward to hint, National Geographic. Maybe you could send us a copy of the new National Geographic guides. In particular, I'm interested in seeing the Western guide that has all of the Hawaiian birds.
Yes.
That is wild. And believe it or not, back in the day, Peterson had Hawaiian birds in his guide. This is not new, but for some reason, we kind of left out Hawaii for a bunch of decades, and now it's kind of back. So that's interesting. I mean, when we were doing Hawaii trips, we kind of didn't really have a proper field guide. There's some good books, photographic guides,
but even those were pretty old. Oh, right. I guess I was thinking the birds of the east. What is the Eastern Tropical Pacific was, a great book. And we would use that. But by the time we were using it, it was probably close to 20 years old. And And there were some smaller field guides that were photographic guides that were pretty good. But this will be very, very different. And the artists involved, Andrew Gutenberg and Marky Muchler. And I mean, there's some tremendous talent. It's going to be really, really fun to see. I've been enjoying they've been posting some of the, kind of sharing stuff that is going to, that we're all going to see very soon. And likewise, I can't wait to get my hands on both those volumes.
It'll be interesting. And that one is authored now by Ted Floyd, from ABA.
Long-time editor of Birding Magazine, Ted Floyd.
And the book you were talking about was Pratt, right? Is that
Doug Pratt.
Doug Pratt. And I remember that although very good, that book was difficult in Hawaii because it included all of the South Pacific.
Yeah, you would have, you would have maybe your Elapayos on the same plate as your Yap monarchs, or I don't know if that's actually the case, but there was a lot of birds beyond Hawaii in that field guide. It was a tremendous field guide for its time, but. Yeah, this will be really interesting. I mean, I started with the Peterson book, the Peterson guide. That was kind of my first book, real field guide, when I started birding as a kid. But then kind of my formative years as a birder, when it was kind of like I was kind of like a year or two into it, I remember when that first Nat Geo guide came out, the first edition. I think it was Rick Blum and John Dunn, and a bunch of different artists. I just remember being like, "Now this is really different. This is really
right."
And the cover just was like, all these different birds on the cover. It was a really exciting cover. But that was kind of the guide that I really grew up with, like my teenage years. I felt like that was what I used until Sibley came around in 2000, and then that really changed everything.
I remember my first book I had was the National Audubon Field Guide photograph. It's like a photographic guide, remember? And it was
that the
green.
One that was multiple volumes?
No, this was before that. It was green. And
I know what you're talking about.
Cover, and there was an orange one that was the West.
Yeah, and like half the front half was photographs, the back half was text.
Right, and then that was the first guide I had. Then somebody said, "You need a proper guide," and at that point in time, it was the older Peterson, and they said, "No, that's no good. It's the Golden Guide's what you want," and the Golden Guide was pretty cool. And then, like maybe a year into me being a birder, Peterson comes out with the new book. And
so the Golden Guide was the Chan Robbins guide, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, had the 3 buntings on the cover, Lazuli Indigo, and painted bunting on the cover, I remember.
Yeah, and I think the new Peterson came out, which was a big deal. And I don't know if National Geographic came out about the same time. It was like really similar, but then it was like I saw National Geographic and I'm like, look at all these vagrants, every single Asian vagrant. I'm
Middendorf's
like,
grasshopper warbler. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All the Western Alaska stuff was in there. You're like, oh my God, I never even heard of this stuff before.
Yeah, I know.
Rock bunting and Middendorf's grasshopper warbler and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. It's funny how that was the book that I really sort of cut my teeth on. And then by the time Sibley came out, I was already, as you were, an experienced birder. So I thought it was cool. But at that point, I wasn't really carting around a book or even like using a book in the way that I used to, where I would read it cover to cover, everything. Look at the map.
I remember I was working with Brian Sullivan at the time. We had a field job on the Eastern Shore of Virginia, and he got it before any of us did. He got the new Sibley, and I forget. I went home for some reason, and like literally the Sibley I think had been out for like a week or two. So it's like brand spanking new, and we'd all been waiting for a long time. We'd met Sibley at Cape May while he was there working on it, and it was. To say it was much anticipated would probably be an understatement. But I remember I was working with Brian that autumn, and I left to go away for a few days. And just as I'm heading out the door, I see his new copy of the Sibley sitting by the door, and I just snagged it. And I left for 4 days with it. And I remember just because I was like, I can't, I gotta take this thing with me. I gotta devour it. And I got back.
This guy.
Yeah. And this is pre-cell phones and all that. I got back and Brian was not happy with me. He was quite displeased.
Has he ever been happy with you?
It's a reasonable question. Yeah.
So that when that book came out, right? Well, first of all, I remember there were critiques of the Peterson guide as like some of his artwork wasn't crisp and whatever, and I think some things were redone. I remember when the Nat Geo guide came out, the Connecticut warbler, the original version, had this Connecticut warbler with like feet that were like 3 times the size of a foot of they have big feet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
But this is like, it was wearing clown shoes. It was, the thing was insane.
My recollection is the Blue Jay didn't actually have legs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of these things, but I remember the Connecticut warbler came out, and then there was a reprinting, maybe a few months later, whatever, because it was quite popular. And they'd put a leaf on top of the feet.
Oh, the feet. That's right.
It's like the problem is gone. It's like and then
paved over.
Sibley, I remember that the discussions were that he had agonizingly found every little rare record of everything in North America and put little dots all over the map, like little gray dots.
Yeah, and then people started getting pissed. They're like, but my dot's not there.
Yeah, and then also it's like, there's just a whole bunch of dots here. Like, I can't see the map. There was all these critiques. And I was later thinking, that probably took more time than writing the text, yet it had to be taken out because people complained about all the dots. And it means every one of these guys comes out and there's sort of this initial flurry of like, this is awesome, to like, hold on a second here, wait. And maybe the historically best one, and I don't even know if this is true, but I like to tell it like it is, that the original Peterson guide, the old guide, had a three-toed woodpecker, had 4 toes. And and that's just fantastic story because it's like, I mean, I could see it happening. The guy's just drawing woodpeckers so that they all look like
darn it,
they all look like this. And then somebody said, they call it a three-toed woodpecker because it actually does have 3 toes. Dang it, like.
Similar but different. Do you remember, like in North American Birds, there was an article on Bell's vireos years ago. This is like years ago, and they misprinted it, the title, and it said Bill's vireo, like, and they like in like the next, I think they mailed everybody like the letter E or something. Yeah, to like, it was something like that where there was like this error, and they're like, sorry about the Bill's vireo thing. Here's here, you can correct it with this.
Yeah, and that original National Audubon green foldy book, that I had, when I got to figure out what things really looked like, I realized like there was a ton of these photographs are misidentified. I remember specifically, I think like the young ring-billed gull was actually a herring gull, and there were a bunch of them. And what was the redone Golden Guide, was it, that had a bunch of things that people did disagree with? That
this was
the book.
Yes, so you remember Rich Stallcup had a book about that book.
Birds for Real, it was called?
Yes, Birds for Real. Yeah, so Rich Stallcup, legendary birder, like one of these guys that combined skill with incredible luck and good fortune all at once, is my understanding. I never met him. You probably met him, Al.
Yeah.
But yeah, legendary birder. But he wrote that book. It was called Birds for Real. And there's a couple chapters like this where, like, overall, the Chan Robbins Guide was tremendous, right? Like, it was an incredible contribution. But the Golden Guide, as it was known, and it was actually ahead of its time in a way, in that it had spectrograms. Remember, like that, like at the time, everybody was like, "This is ridiculous." What are we? And now, of course, everybody's using them. But he took that very personally. Similarly, I remember after that update to the Peterson Guide, you were talking about right before the Nat Geo Guide came out, there was a review published, I think it was in Birding Magazine, by Claudia Wilds, Rick Blum, my father, and a couple other birders of the time, that was really critical of the Peterson, the new edition. And basically that era, I think all of a sudden it wasn't just like, there was all of a sudden kind of critical mass for criticism, it was still kind of early on in birding. But people were this sort of new class of expert birders that had arisen, were holding Peterson and Chan Robbins probably to new standards that maybe they couldn't even achieve themselves.
Right. And do you remember the critique that after the sort of years of National Geographic and rarities and vagrants in there, and primary projections and this and that, these sort of high level detailed birding. Sibley comes out, one of the, the top birder. I mean, sort of one of the most influential birders in North America, guy that knows a lot. But in his book, he simplified things, and people were so mad. Right?
No
Remember
subspecies.
That?
Yeah, no subspecies.
Right. Yeah, well, part of it was, he didn't give you subspecies name, but he gave you sort of the region, and then also simplified what things look like. Where it was sort of overall,
sort of a composite.
And then you can't see the actual streak on the back of this or whatever, and people were like upset. But then it was immensely popular because it simplified things, and it did what people wanted it to do. It actually allowed it to cut through all the BS and identify a bird. And I think the National Geographic was always good for people who already were birders and wanted a ton of information, but it wasn't a good teaching tool. So it's interesting to see what the new version is going to be, because I bet it's going to be quite different, and it might be. Yeah.
I think I imagine, not having seen it yet, it sounded to me, when we were with Ted Floyd on the Antarctica cruise a couple of years ago, when he was really in the throes of kind of finishing it up, his side of things. And I remember it sounded like they were going to have to do some new and different things with that, that book in terms of format. And like I say, the artists that are involved that I know of are super talented. And I can't wait to get my hands on that. It's gonna be fun to see. We're blessed right now. We've got that. I think Sibley is probably working on something new. I don't know that, but then of course there's the Princeton Guide to Birds of North America that's been underway now for a long time.
1 million years. Yeah.
But those guys are getting close, and that is going to be, I think we both have seen, some of the work that's been done there already. And that is going to be a beautiful book as well. So golden age of bird books.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and meanwhile we have things like Merlin and stuff that are kind of attempting to help. They do help, but kind of attempting to be field guide, especially for international places and
for travel.
Not there yet.
Yeah,
it's not quite there yet. It's really good if you know what you're looking at. But I'm not sure it's good as a teaching tool yet. It's like,
I agree. Yeah, I will say that I still bring my field guides to whatever region I'm going to. I bring a bird field guide on the trip, mostly so that I can share it with folks, and as you say, as a teaching device, I think those are hard to beat for kind of in-person teaching, and provided you don't have like a lecture hall where you can put things up on a big screen or something. But I find personally that I don't make use of those books that much while I'm traveling. A lot in advance, but not much while I'm traveling. I often end up just, for quick reference on one thing or another, I'll often go to Merlin, which is sort of a weird thing to realize. But.
Yeah. I did something kind of interesting recently related to field guides where I was like, this is really silly, but here I am, and I was in Japan, and I took a couple of days after the trip to just go gull watching, and I brought my Japanese gull field guide. There's a Japanese gull field guide in Japanese. So I cannot read Japanese. I'm probably a little better than you, George. But
yes, I'd
maybe
venture to say.
Maybe one character. but I used a translator app, like on my phone, and kind of was able to read. And it was so funny. Like some of the translations just are literal. Like, so I think the black-tailed gull is called the cat gull because it sounds like a cat, like a mewing cat. So it says, not as dark as the cat gull. And I would laugh.
I kind of like that, actually.
I like that. Yeah. Cat
gull I like better than black-tailed gull.
Black-tailed gull, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it was so insane. I'm trying to get information. I'd read the English stuff on the English books, but I wanted to see what the Japanese people who see these things all the time, what they're thinking. And it's a really elaborate guide, and using a cell phone and the technology and AI and I thought, like, wow, like, who would have seen this coming?
Right. If you could have explained that to 20-year-old Alvaro, you'd been like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. And it's going to be, yeah. And, that was, it's really great gull watching. I actually learned a few things. One of the things I learned, which is actually like, when something hits you over the head and you go like, how did I not see this? So you all probably have heard of the slaty-back gull because it shows up as a vagrant all over North America. Like, it's one of those, could show up anywhere and would cause a stir in most places that it shows up in, right?
It's my white whale around here. I've been looking for one. I've seen plenty in Alaska and Japan, but not here.
Well, note, they're not white. That could be a problem. You're looking if you're looking for a white one, that's not it.
Go.
So we're up in Hokkaido in the north, and up there it's full of slaty-back gulls, and in fact they breed there. So in southern Japan, you see a few wintering slaty-back gulls, but they don't breed there. Like the black-tailed gull breeds there. Everything else kind of leaves. So we're in the area where they breed. And in North America, at least in California, people have seen slaty-back gulls. I have seen, and I've tried to convince people that I'm not insane. Birds that are in slaty-back gulls, but they're paler than expected. They're not real blackish. They're kind of like dark gray above, but everything else is perfect. And the thought was, well, they're pale because they're hybrids. They're hybridizing with something up in the north in Asia, and that doesn't count as a slaty-back gull. So I've seen that variation in Japan, but suddenly in Hokkaido, I'm taking photographs, and I'm like, here's the dark ones, and here's the pale ones. I was like, but hold on, wait. All of the pale ones have white heads. Like, they have no dark on them, like the dark
streaks.
And they've got full-on beautiful bill colors. I'm like, these are the local breeders. They're
all ready to breed.
Ready to breed. They're probably next month they're going to start displaying. And the other ones are from farther north. They're wintering here. And the pale ones are the breeders. The dark ones are the northern ones. And I thought, well, that's cool. And where these pale ones, assuming this is correct, where these pale ones breed, there are no glaucous-winged gulls, which is what people say that they hybridize with and to make these pale things. Glaucous-winged gulls are farther north where I assume the dark ones are. So then I was like, oh my God, it's like a Klein in darkness.
They're all slatybacks.
They're all slatybacks. Yeah. They're not hybrids.
Wow.
And then I was just like,
that's sexy.
And then
that's
I put
sexy.
it
I
out,
like that.
I put it out on the there's a Japanese, sort of birder where English speakers can sort of partake. And one of the real experienced people, Jan Musica, he says, yes, exactly. That's what I think too. Like, boom, you're on it. That's what I've always thought. And come back in the spring and you'll see them breeding and they're not as dark as the ones further. I'm like, oh man, like that's insane. And I was like, and I'd been there many times and I'd never noticed. And
I guess there's not many people. There are not many people that get up to where the dark ones breed.
Well, I don't know. I mean, but there's also, you can see something and not see it. You know what I mean? Like, you can be thinking about like,
well, what's the southern limit, would you guess, or like, where does it, I mean, it's Klein also, I guess.
They probably go to Sendai, Japan, like north of where the Fukushima reactor was. That's probably the southernmost breeding records down there or something like that. But you see, it's like the thing is like sometimes things are out there and nobody notices,
right?
Until you've been thinking about it for a long time, or you have it in the back of your mind, and then you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that probably there's quite a few breeding up in like Sakhalin and
way up
and
there,
north
way up
of there, and that would be kind of the heart, and just not that many people are birding or e-birding or taking part in these kinds of discussions that are there, right?
Right. I found a Vega gull in Japan with a satellite transmitter and a color band. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa. And it was a 2-year-old bird, second cycle. And I found out it was banded in Korea the year before, probably as a first cycle, I assume. So now I'm trying to see if the researchers will tell me where it went in between. Because like if it went up somewhere in Siberia or what it did for its first summer. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is. Hey, you remember our buddy from the cruise, Magnus, who was on the subantarctic cruise with us? I just saw a message. My phone just buzzed, and I was like, oh, it's a message from the cruise group. It was Magnus. And the other day I was remembering how Magnus kind of reintroduced himself to me. I can't remember if I told you this story on the boat or not, but Magnus comes up to me and he goes, he goes, hey, this is going to sound weird, but did you used to collect a lot of roadkill? I was like, I mean, not really, no.
I wish I would have been there during that question because I could have answered it for you with a lot of dumb comments.
It's a good setup, right?
Yeah, it's a good setup.
I was just like, where is this going?
Yeah.
I was like, I do not understand. And he was like, your name's George, right? He's like, George Armstead? I was like, yeah. And he goes, man, I swear it was you. He was like, I think it was 1998, and we were on the Outer Banks, and I saw what I thought was you and another guy picking up a dead otter from the road. And I was like, yep, that was me. And as soon as he like put it in context, I was like, yes, I remember that precisely, because we had found like a recent road-killed river otter, and it was in pretty much pristine condition. At the time, I was working for the Academy of Natural Sciences. And
that may be the only otter you ever picked up from a road.
For sure it is, without question. Yeah. But then I was like, wow, so like what an incredible memory and like recognition like 20 years after the fact. And I was like, yes, that was me. And yeah, it was pretty phenomenal. Anyway, just got a message from him that reminded me.
Maybe he thought you were a psycho killer because of that, and he just wanted to like ingratiate, be nice to you on a ship so that you'd be his last victim,
He's like, this guy's psychotic. I better get on his good side.
That's exactly. Speaking of crazy stuff, you know what I did today?
What's that?
So we recorded earlier with Molly, and then we had a time where we were working throughout the day today, but we have in our house a starling pair that will sometimes try to nest they try to describe it like in the, just below the roof, there are these little holes, that are for ventilation. And usually they have like a screen, something in there. But over the years, that screen has, become nothing due to the ocean salt around here. So this starling has been coming in, and already it like peeks in, and they don't breed until late April here, early May. Yet they start when it's sunny and just go in there and start looking around and fixing the place up, and every morning I'm like hearing this starling, and it's like there's this hole, but you can't reach it from like, it's on the second floor and we have a little deck, but you can't reach it from the deck. It's like a few feet too far, right?
So you got to get bust out a ladder or something?
Well, it's second floor you'd have to have like a major ladder, and I'm not. I always joke about you being afraid of crazy animals and monkeys, but that would not be the job I would bestow upon myself, to get up on a 2-floor ladder. It's
Gotcha.
it's not my deal. And so then I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to call somebody. And, we have these things that I bought that actually go over, that fix it, to fix this stupid problem. So this dumb ass introduced bird, which I actually kind of like, but
I like them too.
Would not nest in the house, because it makes a lot of noise and whatever. And I don't want to encourage the nesting of those birds here.
Yeah, that's whatever. For sure. Yeah.
So I was like, this morning, I was like, you know what I could do? I have lots of hockey sticks around here from Pablo's hockey days.
Your poor neighbors.
I could put this little round thing on the tip of the hockey stick somehow. Maybe put a bit of glue around it and gingerly kind of put it in the hole and seal this thing off.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and I was like, how am I going to do this? So I actually got some, hockey tape and
this is the Canadian side of you. Like, I know, like your Canadian friends are so proud of you right now.
This is the red-green show. This is the red-green
show. Red-green show, yeah, exactly. It should be duct tape in that case, but yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's like, then I'm sticking, trying to and there's, I have to go around like a little wooden structure to do this, and I can't quite see the whole 100%. I can only see a quarter. Let me tell you, if somebody could have filmed this, the number of times that stupid thing fell off and it didn't work, and I had to go down backyard, pick it up, and start all over. And undeterred, 5th try, I got it. And I felt like I'd won the Stanley Cup at that moment.
Did you have your hands up after and looking around, in case your neighbors were like, what the deuce is this guy doing?
I know, with his hockey stick, it's like, yeah. It was the funniest thing. So, but there's an ornithological thing in here,
Mm-hmm. Starling nesting prevention.
Yeah, and starlings are interesting in where they nest. They're you could call them a cavity nester, but they're more than that. They will nest in things that aren't quite cavities, like in buildings, where there's like a hollow, cracks and crevices, and I think they even prefer when there's like a big space that they can go into, not just like a woodpecker cavity. And what's weird to me is that a bird that is similar around here is a violet green swallow. Like, tree swallows want a little circle cavity standard, but violet green swallow nests a lot in houses around here rather than boxes. I've never seen a violet green in a box around here. And they're getting those crevices and going,
When I think about the ones I've seen a lot recently, especially in Colorado, they seem to like that same little space, kind of where the side panel meets the roof, and there's a little hole there.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, but now we will see if the starling comes back tomorrow, and if that glue I put is not strong enough, if he can peck it out of there, because that I will then be fully into, Caddyshack mode.
Like Bill Murray.
Yeah, Bill Murray with the groundhog, with the woodchuck. Yeah, exactly. I'll be like, damn it, what do I do now?
that'd be a good Halloween costume for you. I think that'd be work well for you. Yeah.
There you go.
You know what I was seeing a lot last week, Al? Bird I know that you've seen as well were spotless starlings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which are pretty cool. It's like, I'm looking around, I keep seeing starlings, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. These are different. Right. Sternus unicolor. Spotless starlings. Yeah.
And then if, somebody's like, well, my starlings here don't have spots, it's because you're seeing them in the summer. In winter, starlings have white spots all over, right? And
yep, they get
these
beautiful, like December, January around here. That's when they seem like they're kind of at their freshest and most gorgeous.
And the spotless starlings, I've seen in Spain, they sound different. They actually have I wouldn't say it's really different, but they're different enough that you're like, wait, hold on here.
Doesn't sound like these guys we got around here. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a cool bird. So it's winter. Did you see a lot of black redstarts?
We did, and they were displaying.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. I talk about this a little bit on a podcast that will probably come out later in the spring, but where I detail the week I just did over there. But yeah, the first couple I saw were kind of at a distance, and I just saw this sort of small, medium-sized songbird doing this I'm like, what the hell is that? Doing this like weird sort of, fairly low to the ground, kind of weight, chest high, head high, floppy flight display. And then finally I had one close. I was like, oh, wow, it's black redstarts. And spring was in the air over there in mid-February. Stuff was really cooking.
The time I was there in Spain in March, that was the first time I ever went to Spain for this invitational kind of a thing, to sort of learn Spain and bring people to Spain and all that. The bird that kind of grabbed my attention was white wagtail. I found a couple of the pied wagtail, which is the white wagtail that breeds in Britain. And apparently this is the time to see them. They kind of migrate. I don't know. I guess most of them are actually resident in Britain. I don't remember, but some are migratory.
I noticed that popped up on the eBird list. None of the ones I saw appeared to be that, but right. But I was kind of when I eBirded my first one, I was like, oh, I guess I better keep an eye out, and so I started looking. But yeah,
I have suddenly like a quest in the back of my mind to try to see every white wagtail type, because they're actually identifiable and they're different.
Oh yeah,
they're right now they're the same species, and maybe that's not going to be the case forever. But it's kind of fun, because they're not all the same, and there's simple patterns that you can look at to identify them. Black stripe through the eye, or white mask, or whatever it might be. A lot of it is pretty simple. It's not like complicated, wing formula or a bunch of white tips on the secondaries or something. So looking forward to seeing a few more.
Yeah, we had on the India trip, we had a nice bunch of wagtails.
That's a good place.
Yeah. For the white wags, there was trying to remember that. Was it Hodgson's subspecies?
Right, with the white spectacle kind of thing.
Yeah, like mostly black, actually, but with that little bit of white around the face, which is a really handsome one. Enjoyed.
Maybe you saw the Trans-Balkan or something like that. That's the one. There's
maybe somebody saw it. I do not recall having seen that myself.
Yeah, that's another one that's kind of could be there. I think that's what it's called, Trans-Balkan, but that's a good name,
It is Trans-Balkan.
Trans-Balkan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good patch over there for white wags.
Yeah, and in India you also see the white-browed wagtail, right, which is a real kind of a different, more black, kind of bigger thing, that's a little bit akin to the Japanese wagtail, which is also this rather different black and white wagtail that exists. But I've been kind of getting a little nerdy on wagtails recently, so as you can see.
I love the yellows as well, and all the different subspecies of yellows. The times I've spent in the Middle East, that is a lot of fun, is trying to rack up as many of those different ones as you can
the
get.
black-headed and the gray-headed things and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wish we had wagtails,
I know.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Pipits
we
don't do it.
We're kind of pipit poor on this side. We're pipit. Motacillidae is not our strong suit in North America or in South America, really, for that matter.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few pipits way down south, but they all kind of look the same. But
yeah, I mean, they basically are. Yeah, pretty not as thrilling as in Eurasia.
I've yet to see, and I've looked for and failed, the pampas pipit. Have you ever seen that?
That was that's one that I have dipped on as well.
And that's in Argentina for the most part. I think it's in Paraguay as well, and Brazil, southern Brazil, but pampas pipit. And it was like a mystery for a long time. Like they thought it was a misidentified bird, that it really was a yellowish pipit and blah, blah, blah. And then somebody recorded the song of this thing. I was like, oh, well, it's different. Totally different. So,
Anthus chacoensis.
Chacoensis. So is it called Chaco pipit now, or is it? It was called Chaco pipit for a while.
Okay, I wasn't sure that was the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah, so pampas pipit in Ebert.
Pampas pipit, yeah.
41 photos, 45 audio recordings. Yeah. So not a ton of media for that bird.
Yeah. Still on the birds from the southern cone that I've not seen. And the southern cone, for those of you who've never been down there, is like that southern triangle in South America where it's temperate for the most part. So Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and include a little bit of that southernmost part of Brazil often in that southern cone. But it's like a really different part of South America. It's south of the main tropical forests, so you've got little snippets of forest, but of tropical forest, but not Amazonia. So it's really quite
as someone who loves open country birding, I love that stuff down there, and it's a bunch of cool habitats and fun birds.
Sprague's pipit, which, as you love to note, has been called the Sprague's pipette.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say, I nearly just piped in with that immediately. Yeah.
Sprague's pipette.
Yeah.
Well, the Sprague's pipit is genetically most closely related to the South American pipits. I think specifically the short-billed pipit, which the two look like. If you had a vagrant short-billed pipit in North America, you'd be like cooked. There's no way.
No way you'd know. Yeah, forget it.
Say that's a Sprague's pipette if I ever saw one, and I think that's really neat to think about the fact that there was at some point pipits, which are an old world group, invaded the New World. We got this
couple colonization events.
Yeah, chunk of new pipits, and then we had two invasions because American pipit is most closely related to water pipit, Siberian pipit, and all that. Yeah. So now that's a second invasion, and then the first invasion would have been the early ones. Yeah, sort of interesting.
Yeah. Pipits. Much to see, and pipits. It's a good group. I have a friend who says he's got a real pipit fetish. And I kind of get it. Pipits and wagtails is a good bunch of birds. So
yeah, pipits and wagtails, exactly.
It's a good book.
The other group that we were just enjoying in Japan and Thailand, and you probably enjoyed in India, minivets.
Oh yes, and so different than anything we've got. Yeah,
and they're like
always
the
in
name
flocks.
is cool.
Yeah, and they're beautiful. They're great looking. There's a bunch that are kind of similar. You have to give them a little scrutiny, listen up, and always in big flocks.
Right?
Always in good sized flocks.
Yeah, the ones you saw were probably mostly orange and black, like scarlet, long-tailed,
short-billed.
Yeah, and in Japan in the south, you have one, and it's black and gray, and white, and it's the Ryukyu minivet, and it's actually not in flocks. It's sort of different, but they have kind of a shape. Like the ones in India look a little bit like orioles in color, but they have a shape like a solitaire, right? Like a little skinny solitaire, like long-tailed. And I was like exactly like what you said, talking to people about, we have nothing that is like these things. And I'm thinking, what do they eat? Are they berry eaters? Are they like waxwings? Are they what's going on with these minivets, And where does the name come from? To me, it sounds like a very small sports car, the minivet. But
it's true. I like that.
And they're in the cuckoo shrike family, and and then people are like, cuckoo shrikes, what are those? It's like, well, they're not cuckoos and not shrikes, but they're again one of these. Nothing you can kind of point to here to go, it's like those, it's like we really have nothing like those things. Yeah, it's like,
nope, totally different, and
totally different,
and a lot of fun.
Minivets.
Yeah. Well, amigo, I think we got to scoot.
Yeah, got to go. That's it.
Anything you want the good folks to know before we sign off here?
I can't say we didn't get to our list because we actually didn't have one. We just sort of went for it.
It's true. We dove in head first, and here we are, coming out the other side.
Yeah. As I have noted in the last few times, Japan in spring is a trip that we're doing that is, I think it's a new trip in the way we're doing it, with a lot of little islands and endemic birds, seabirds, good food, seafood and seabirds. And I'm really, really excited about, if I had to pick one trip I'm super excited about in this next 6 months, it's this one, spring in Japan. So go to Alvaro's Adventures and let me know if you want more info. But what are you up to?
Yeah, well, gosh, so much. Soon headed to Costa Rica, and then immediately following that heading to Tanzania. So look forward to detailing those trips for folks in the weeks ahead. But yeah, looking ahead, I did want to let folks know that we just added back to our calendar a Colombia trip to the edge of the Amazon and the white sand forests of Colombia. Phil Sean is going to be doing that trip for us in December of 2025. Take a look at the site and at hillstarnature.com and take a look at that one. It's a cool trip. If you are looking for a really great birding adventure to a place that really doesn't get a whole lot of folks, but has some really range restricted and seldom seen birds, and amid a real wilderness, that is one I would recommend. We're calling it Columbia's White Sand Forests with Phil Sean, December 2025. So take a look at that. Again, I am still looking for a couple friends to join me in December as well on my trip to India, the Ghats, and the Deccan Plateau. I would love to get a couple more friends to join that one. I'm super excited about that trip and can't wait to make it go. Also, Mongolia's got a couple spots left. So Mongolia coming up with Adam Wallane in August. Looking for cats, and there'll be plenty of birds too. But snow leopard is one of the main targets.
Yeah.
Pallas's cat, the kind of the OG original grumpy cat. We're going for that. There should be tons of shorebirds moving at that time of year as well, and a bunch of cool birds and animals. So,
Mongolian gull.
Oh yeah, now there you go.
There you go. Yeah. That will get people going. Hey, that's
maybe relict gull, huh? Maybe relict gull.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. The hardest of the gulls.
Yeah.
We should also mention that we are going to go back to, we're doing podcasts recently that have been coming out on the New Zealand subantarctic. And by the time you hear this, we should have it up online. And listen to the podcasts, multiples about the trip, and you're going to get a sense for the amazing nature of this seabird spectacle, and also great food on this ship. Amazing food. But One thing that I think folks may not, they may have a question of is that you can sign up with us or sign up directly with the ship, but you don't actually pay any extra. It's the same price sign up with us. Same price.
Same price.
But you get more because you get us hanging around with you.
Some dedicated guides. Yeah.
Dedicated guides and a lot of experience too with these birds. And, that we will always try to have eyes out in the sea, when we're doing crossings so that you can know what you're looking at and be accompanied by somebody there, which is not the case if you're sort of on your own on these ships. And some people may want to pay extra not to be with us. That's completely understandable. But
that's an option that is probably available to you somehow. I'm not sure how. But.
You can pay us extra, the extra part, and we will ignore you, and not talk to you, and we won't make our stupid jokes. That's there too. So
yeah, it's an option. Yeah, yeah. The pod that just came out, where we kind of give an overview of the whole trip, is called "The Heart of Seabird Diversity: Subantarctic Islands." And that just came out here in February. So depending on when you hear this, you might want to scroll back and listen to that one. Mm-hmm. And you can hear the ocean sort of washing around our cabin as we detail what was, certainly one of the most amazing trips,
life-changing
we've ever done. Yeah.
No.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Al, and thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back again soon. Take care, guys.
Yeah, see you later.